Greetings everyone, here's Lodrik and this is a Game War in the Pacific Advanced Edition. This is my PBEM match against Xargun, and this is now the special tracker episode I will put here in at turn 217. And I can check here the numbers, and maybe someone like to see this and get additional information out of it. I load every turn into the tracker, but I really don't use too much. What I check every turn is really only the alarm message if something special is plopping up. Like you can see here that some bases have not enough fuel. I know this already, I cannot change it, but okay, Chengdu have a problem with not enough fuel. I get also the information if something is upgrading, an airfield or a port, or if it's my own base. I also can see if the fort is maybe upgrading. I can see here if a ship is finished commissioning. What is the eye opener? All of this grouped with straw stuff is only fill text. I also get here the information if A&D get a shortened of months, so you can see it's flipped from November to October 42 here in this case, and here's the break. This is the other turn from before. But at the beginning you can hear it's much more critical to use tracker, but once your setup is stable and you don't move too much, it's less relevant. But okay, this is alarm message, not really too much. I can explain here. Resources, at the beginning at least I check it more. Make double click here. So I can see that there's only one base have a spoilage warning that is simply related to fuel. This base can maximum handle 3000 tons of fuel, so I'm 211 tons over. But I don't know, this cost me maybe 4 or 5 fuel per day up to this 3000 limit. Doesn't matter. I try also to build up here this number higher, so I get much more capacity. It is a nice information, but it's not super critical here. You can also see here where is what. I see that in Tokyo is a lot of stuff supplies wise. You can see that Tokyo have a lot of supplies, Mukden have a lot of supplies. That is related to how many army units is in the hex often and so on, and where else I have supplies. But fuel, similar. Tokyo have a lot of fuel, Japan have fuel, Singapore fuel, the typical bases. Emiri is oil producing or fuel producing, oil producing. But nothing too special here. Resources, Tokyo store a lot, Osaka have a lot. So this is mainland Japan or the main islands. And a lot of other stuff is still waiting for shipping or waiting for transportation. Oil, similar story. Tokyo, Osaka are full with oil. And Palembang is next with Singapore, Balikpapan. So I ship some oil to Singapore, and from Singapore it will go direction mainland China, Korea sooner or later. Resources are going well to Korea, oil not so much. So what is better, I found out, is if I send the oil directly to this base, then it's flowing easier to direction of Korea. I also consume the oil, the fuel, what's the oil I consume in China. I have some refineries there and in Manchukuo, so I don't really need to ship oil to Japan these days. Maybe later, and sometimes I do this. I have some oil, crude oil, I ship directly to Japan, but maybe only 10 or 20%. Good. And not much more here to see. Industry wise, you can get here this information, so you can see my pool numbers is always this is my pool, so my vehicle pool is just at 0. I produce 185 per day. This is heavily related because there are just the 2 Japanese tank divisions reform, and then they change their vehicle type, and they also ask for much more support vehicles, and so my pool is empty. So you can see this with Japan, vehicles is really issue. The armament is not the issue. But later I can show this chart, and then it's maybe easier to see. And this is also my pool overall, so it all looks fine. The only really critical point is that I don't produce enough crude oil. Maya, cannot change this. Crude oil, I conquer what is possible and I repair what is possible, but more I cannot do. Overall, this looks like the global chart, maybe later. So first this chart, or this graphic. If you play Japan, you have only one issue, that this chart is more or less written for allies, or at least you must deduct these points here. This plus points is for China, and only the allied player would get this. So this number reduced by 940 is the Japanese number I really get. But again, you can also see this supply points here. If you check it here, you have the true number. This is my Japanese number. I produce 30,700 tons of supplies map-wide per day, or in the last turn, because there is also the inactive heavy industry, and this is more or less China. So more or less you can say this is Chengdu. Chengdu is switching on and off, and normally it's like one turn off, one turn on. So this number will increase and decrease. So means I get 160 supplies more out of this per turn or not. But roughly speaking, I would say overall maybe I get 31,000 supplies per day. And that is of course much more. You start with, I don't know, 27,000 supplies, something like this. I conquer some, I upgrade some, so yeah. Issue is here again, you can see resources overproduction, fuel is overproduction, that is not an issue. So it also makes really not too much sense to repair refineries. Other games I also repair my refineries, but I also learned that you can do it because you get fuel and supplies. So from that point of view, it makes sense to repair it because you get supplies plus fuel. Yeah, this is a good ratio. Issue is that we really never have enough crude oil. You will always run out of crude oil. Even if I repair my 104 oil centers, I will have still not enough crude oil to feed my refineries I have. And if I repair my 283 refineries, I have even less crude oil to feed them. And then sooner or later they will simply run out of crude oil and then they switch off. And then the question is if this investment ever makes sense. In the short run it would make sense because I get simply more fuel out, but then there are also more fuel will not help you. You need only enough fuel to feed your fleet and industry. More supplies could help because you never have enough supplies, but this is another story. And again, yeah, if I run out of crude oil, then I will run out of crude oil. But this is maybe first in 44, 45. Good. So nothing else here to see. Here is my total numbers as a statistic. So I am at 9.5 million tons of resources all over the map, 2.8 million tons of crude oil, 3.5 of fuel, 1.6 of supplies, and this is in heavy industry points. Heavy industry points is, I would say maybe 90% of these points is related to what you can see here. Produce equipment. From airframes to engine to vehicles, armament, navy yard, and this stuff. And maybe out of this, you also need them, I think, to rebuild and build up army units. And I guess that I really don't have the total statistics, but I can understand that if you have a lot of army losses, infantry, tanks, or whatever is losing, then you need this heavy industry points to rebuild them. But up to now, I only increase them. The same with manpower, nearly 600,000 and 600,000 guys in backup. Good. So, and if you want to have other statistics, I can open here the chart. But it needs now a long time, so I really never open this more. Only for you here. I can read numbers and I can understand numbers. This kind of chart is normally always easier to see something quickly for many people to explain. And yeah, why not? It is nice information, it can tell you a story. And yeah, maybe in 5 minutes this will open, I don't know. The problem is if I open this, everything is freezing, so I can do nothing else. Okay, good. So, heavy industry points is a red line. It's going from day one more or less up. And I start with less than 50,000 and I'm already at 750,000. So I don't know if nothing will change. I don't know if this ever will go down. Armament, no, now it's this red line is now armament, manpower. I think similar story. If I don't start to lose a division per month, I think this will not be an issue. That is related to armament. This is light equipment, like everything what is not a vehicle is an armament. If it's and every unit needs an amount of stuff. But again, I think this is I never increased this production, so the basic production, there's no need for investment. I don't see it, not now. Vehicle on the other side is always, I invested at the beginning already some stuff, later I increased it more, but at this point you can see around return 70, I was thinking, okay, I have now a stable pool. It is increase and go down, increase, go a little down, increase, but it still go up, go up, go up. But here at around turn 170, there's this new tank divisions, and they're really eating up my pool. I had a little time to build up the pool and suddenly again, boom, fall down. I think this was some units arriving at the map and they asked for vehicles and upgrading vehicles. And here I reformed the two Japanese tank divisions. Before there was a split and then I put them together, and if you put them together, they simply get much bigger. And then I request 100 additional tanks, something like this, and 200 trucks. And you can see after this I was not more able to increase my pool. But this is temporary. Once this is done, and this is now nearly done, so I guess in maybe latest 10 turns I will start up to make more pool points. And I would also not overproduce vehicles. They're only pool points. So, and this is a typical Navy March, the shipyard point stuff. So I would always guess or say, keep this between at least minimum 100, better maybe between 200 and 500. If you are somewhere in this area, you are fine. Be less is too critical, because if you are reaching zero, then the game will decide which ship will be stopped, paused. And maybe it's carrier you don't want stop, or destroyers you don't want stop. So I would simply always choose which ship is not more produced or slowed down, because then you can choose what is simply for you not priority. But it also makes no sense to have here 10,000 pool points, because this will not help you. Again, it's only pool points. This is not a unit. This is only backup points. They are not fighting for you. Good, and this is the resource stuff. Here you can really see that at the beginning you start with Japan have not enough resources. You must conquer resources, and then you must also, I mean, this is without or independent from shipping, because I only have the map information. This is world map wide. map, and you can see that Japan really have a deficit in resources. So you must ship them back, but you also must conquer resources. This is in relationship with how much you invest in heavy industry. If you don't invest in heavy industry, this curve is maybe more or less stable. Then you have only the pressure to ship them back to Japan. But you don't really need to conquer more. But I invested heavily in heavy industry, so I forced this line down. And first after I took in China more and more, I get this now up. And because I think up to here is maybe China, so you can see I stabilize everything with China. But what is really pushing up is taking Australia. Out of Australia I get so many resources that I can, this is really additional resources now. Fuel, yeah, fuel is, yeah, stable. Not more. I maybe still burn a little fuel. And I really have no option to fix this. I can only say at some point I maybe must reduce my activity with my fleet. Let's say this. Also, maybe next time I would not more increase my heavy industry upgrades so much. I try this in this game on purpose to see, because I make some roughly calculation, I realize that around 31,000 supply output would be, I think, the maximum you can go, and you can compare this now. You can see the line is flat. 31,000 I can feed with fuel. But if I go now to 32,000 or 33,000 heavy industry and supply production, then I would have really issues. And there is not really any oil left to conquer. There's nothing in Australia. There would be something in India, I guess, but I think the little oil you can find in India is at the same time there's also more heavy industry. And India is another story. So there is really, I would say maybe at 30,000 supply output, that is maybe the best spot. You get more supplies for the empire to fight, but you don't have so much issue with oil. And again, of course, if Palm Bank blow up, Balikpapan blow up, and you lose all the refineries, then you really have an issue. And this is why it's sometimes, if Palm Bank is blowing up, the game is broken. You can do nothing more. This is really a weak spot in the game, I would say. Good, and oil, this is crude oil is going down. I conquer some oil, I think this is Palm Bank, but it's really going down. And if this reach zero, the blue line will also go down, because then I simply have less fuel production. What is stable, you can see, is supplies. I even at this point at 150, you can guess it's going up. Slowly but steadily. And this is enough. But you also can see that the first months I burn supplies non-stop, because the first 30 days I put everything in heavy industry increase. After this, from 30 to 70, 80, I had engine increase, or maybe up to 90 I make engine increase. I mean, the engine increase starts from 0 to 90, but heavy industry increase is only from 0 to 30. Good. Enough about this. Devices. Because I was not more sure, I can go for allies. I can go for torpedo. Then you can go for American Mark 14. And yeah, so it's that chance is still at 80%. I don't know if you start with 90 or with 80%, but okay. So there's 20% chance for trigger. I only don't know what is the difference between these two Mark 14s. But again, you can see the normal Mark 10 have only 15%. So, or you can say 85% chance to trigger if it hits. Mark 15 is the airdrop torpedo, is at 60% that chance. And Mark 18, I don't know, this is a special torpedo. This is maybe the surface torpedo. This could be. This is the old Mark 10 submarine torpedo. This is a new submarine torpedo. This is airdrop torpedo, and that is surface torpedo. Well, yeah, I think destroyers, cruisers. And if you compare this with other torpedoes like that, I think this is British torpedoes. There's only Allied. So, but they have only 10%, so they're very reliable. There's also Mark 13. I think this is surface torpedo. Yeah, maybe this is the older surface torpedo type, and the Mark 18 is a new type. Yeah, I'm really not too familiar with this, but you can see the Dutch stuff is all at 10%. So I know this will change, this Mark 14, and all the others will also, they all will change, but I was not more sure if it's also 1st of July or maybe the 1st of January 43 first. And if I see and check this at Japan, you can have 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%, only the Kaiten. But this is special stuff. 50%. So, but you can also say that this is normally the long lens torpedo surface from the destroyer, cruiser fired. They have high, they can hit well, they will normally always explode, but this is more or less the TNT, so there's 1 ton of TNT, or how you want to see it, and the Kaiten have 3,500. So 3 times more effect or penetration, it's more or less the same. So if you can hit something with the Kaiten, I think whatever it is will blow up. From a destroyer to a battleship, I think even a battleship will have issues if there's a 3,500 kilo torpedo hitting it. Or even a Yamato will not handle this. I don't see it will sink immediately, but it will cripple the ship. Good. You can also check this here now. Devices is always something nice to check, at least if you're new to the game, because it's sometimes not easily to understand. Navy radar. Why there's no Navy radar? I think we must call it only radar. Sometimes it's hard to read this. Navy radar, aircraft radar. Yeah. So you have here 2 different devices, air radar. You normally have, these are the 3 radar is important, H6, MAD and N6. MAD is only the sub-hunter equipment. And the range is 1,000 feet. So because this is an American program, I don't know where, anyway, it's all counted feet. So if you want hunt for a sub, you can hunt it normally in 100 feet or in 1,000 feet. So you don't must run it in 100 feet to use this device. So 1,000 feet would also work well. Problem is only that this device is not very nice or working well. An issue is it will be first active in June of 44. So you can see all of this equipment is 44, 45 stuff. So the 45 stuff is endgame, and at that time the atomic bombs already dropping on Japan. So more important is normally the stuff is 44. So you can also see that MAD and H6 is the radar you get early, and the N6 is a little later. And I don't know if you really must care the FD2 and MH3. This is air radar, and then you have the surface radar, and what do you want to see? You have different radar types and stuff, and it's nice to understand this and to check this, but maybe not too much for this now. Aircraft. You saw already aircraft? No, air production. I don't know if it's really super important, but status building. So this is all what I produce now for the Japanese army. I produce Oscars. You can see my pool points, my daily production, and my monthly production. 4 airframes per day, 120 per month. This is a fighter bomber type. This is a recon aircraft. Problem is you get here the fighter bomber, recon, land-based bomber, or land bomber, I think LB land bomber. And this is all what I built for the army. So I produce roughly 300 aircraft per month for the army. And for the navy, I produce a little more, but not much more. So 160 M5s. I will go and repair here a little more, then I won't go for 30 torpedo bombers, some of the scout aircraft, but this is the starter production. I don't increase this, it's only, I let it run, nothing more. Dive bombers go for 30. Jake is at 40 now, don't need more, you have time. Glenn is also at the beginning of the game, they start with this, so I keep it running, why not? It's simply an engine, I have some pool points. If the pool is empty, I can change the factory. Then M3, again, important is here the M3, so I go here up to 60. I think this is enough. Still need some time to change all my long-range torpedo bombers, but it will be enough. What you can never have enough is normally the Emily, because you can use this really aggressively, and it's normally an upgrade to the Nell. This guy is, at least, in latest if you get the K2 edition, this is well armed, well protected, super long range, 2 torpedoes. I will really say you can even throw these guys on everything, even if there's an escort. With a little luck, they can survive and they get 1 or 2 torpedo hits, and this is enough. Then you simply give them new airplanes, wait 1 week, feed them more pilots. Of course, you must pre-train all your pilots in torpedo bomber skill and defense skill, and then you have again some very strong asset. Good, so much for Navy and what I really produce, and everything else I guess is not really important. But this is my personal opinion. Aircraft wise, you can see the engine output. So you start with 160, this is scenario 1, so under scenario other numbers. But I try to push it as fast as possible, so I get the numbers up, Here I reach the point of at round 1, turn 100, I reach also the engine point. So I get here now bonus for my zeros. And now you can still see I still have a little overproduction, so the pool will increase. And I produce here 600 aircraft engines per day. So I think 600 would be enough. You don't need more than 600 because there's not much more coming. And later, and the R&D bonus will be soon over. I mean, I will not produce many new aircraft with this type of engine because this is simply an engine is at the end of the lifetime. We will change it to, you need much more in the future, normally 43 and 45 engines. This is the future. This is all old stuff, more or less. So in the future I know 600 is enough. Maybe even 500, but then you are a little slow at some points. The H-33, I am now a little struggling. You can see it's going down all the time, around 3 per turn. So I also asked, okay, I build 20 more factories. It's similar story. This is now, I consume a lot of engines, mainly because of the A6M8. Because this airframe based on this 33. But once I finish this R&D, there's not more much happening with the H-33 in the future. So I don't need to overproduce the output of these airframes. But again, I would say 500 is in the next one I would maybe say, okay, try to get 500, because there was a time, I think 1 month, I stopped the upgrading of this engine, so I could go to 500 next time directly and then stop. H33 or S34 is, I think 400 is the maximum you need. I'm now going down, but it's even, this is related to Helen and Tojo. And the Helen R&D is soon over. The Tojo R&D will also be not more long time. And there's nothing else. After this, this engine is really only a purely Tojo Helen R&D stuff. There's even the possibility to simply say, I don't produce Helen, I don't produce Tojo, and then I never must touch this engine. H32 is not so much in demand. It's at 0. And these are 2 under A&D. Good. So much for this topic. And yeah, I can do this only shortly because there's always this question, but this is a personal opinion, and so I will not say it's wrong or not wrong. But you can normally say, this is your typical fighter, you start the war. This is the next upgrade. There's also the M3, but this is a special type because this cannot operate from a carrier. So I ignore it. You don't must ignore it, but you can ignore it. This is of course the upgrade stuff. You can see here really, this is a little faster. You get 1 more hex range. You get 1 more maneuver value, and especially in the higher altitude, this one is much better. True. But these are 5 miles per hour and 1 maneuver. That is better. It's better. But I don't know if it makes sense. The problem is here clearly that this is a December 42 airframe. You can start with this one, so then it would be a June 42. Problem is that this airframe directly will not help you for carrier operations. This is a land operation airframe. If you compare these two guys, you can see this guy is even a little faster, but have already not more the range and have no real better maneuver values. Maybe in high altitude, but not really. So I don't know what I get out of this. And I would simply say why? Why if I can go directly to the M5? I can get the 6 M5. I got this done. This is now the change number. I think you start with August 43. But with A&D, and if you set it up correctly, you see I got this airframe in June of 42. And this guy is really, this is already a big improvement. This is at 20 miles per hour. It's still the same range, normal, okay, drop range. The drop tank range is 1 hex less, but it's still okay. Maneuver values looks maybe first more shitty, but at the same time, you must always compare. More speed means less maneuver values. And speed is always more important than maneuver. It is simply fact. And you can also see that here, this is the range up to 20,000. This airframe is better. So this is the overall better airframe up to 20,000. This guy is normally built up to 15,000, can fight in 20,000. This guy can fight in higher altitude much better. But on top of this, I would still say you get also more durability. And I think durability is the stuff what many people maybe misunderstand. This is simply the hit points, I would say. So if this guy is, this is paper built like an Oscar, 1 hit, it will not break down immediately, but it's damaged, and so you must still return to your base. And if your durability is too low, you have simply higher ops losses or also lost airframes. They cannot even reach the base. With more durability, you have simply more the chance to survive a damage. Nothing else changed here really. What I go for, and this is why I invest so much, is still the M6, M8. You can skip this airframe, but it's still an improvement, I would say. You see already that I lower it up to May 44, and I'm still pushing it to get it earlier. So maybe at the beginning of 43 I can get this airframe. The speed is the same. So you can see you drop here in range, the speed is the same. The maneuver values are the same. Durability is the same. What you really change here is two things. You get armor. What really let your pilot survive. I think this is the number one, that pilots can survive. Even if you fight over your own base and your airframe is destroyed, you still have much higher chance to get your pilot back. Maybe wounded, maybe fine. Without armor, they are often dead. More likely, at least. So you get armor, and on top of this, you get also 2 heavy machine guns. And this, I think, is the difference is the 2 light machine guns cannot do any real damage. So with the heavy machine guns, you can really get out. It's much easier to damage enemy bombers, 4-engine bombers or whatever. Maybe for fighter fight it's not so important, but always nice to have. And yes, of course, this is never a threat for the A7. So if you need the SAM. Latest in 44, you need the SAM. But the question is if you can get the SAM in 43. The question is how long you want to use the old airframes. You can, I don't know if you can stay on this airframe for 42 and 43 and then say, okay, 44 I have the SAM. I think this will be troublesome. I guess you can say for 43 you use the M5. That would be okay. But it's still clearly better to have the M8 and 43. Anyway, enough of this. Ships production. I don't know if it's really necessary to check this, but my Navy stuff. You can see that my carriers are coming. Navy ship production. Yeah. Oh no, not this one. Sorry. This one. So I have here all my carriers under production. They're all in building. Only Shiano is still on hold. Everyone is on full speed. Only Taiyo is on normal speed because Taiyo uses also a lot of points. And I don't have stability points left. So you can also see that roughly in summer of 43, all of my carriers are finished. Taiyo is the other question. But once the carriers are finished, I will also try to push Taiyo again. Still, I would say I try to get my carriers all on the map. At the same time, the Allies get the first dozen new carriers. So that I have at least in 43 the same amount of carrier capacities in the Allies. 44, I guess it's... If I don't think Allied carriers, the Allies will outmatch me. Always. And you can check this also with destroyers. But it doesn't matter. The important part is still the same. That give up on these submarines. It makes no sense. At the beginning, submarines look so powerful, but this will change. It's already changing. It's hard to think here now, and it's so easy to lose the submarines. And latest in 43, if the debuff is off the map for both nations, Sub-Hunter are much more powerful. So I built here 1 or 2 submarines at the same time. Nothing else. What I really use, if I open this turn by turn, I really only check alarms. Sometimes I check the engine production to get a feeling how if I need more engines, but this is I do once per week, nothing more. What I check every day, more or less, is maybe ship upgrades. And then I check always what is overdone. Then this is simply only the list of ships can get an upgrade. And what is missing. Problem is only that you cannot disable here something. I would normally like to have this function that you say I don't show me these ships because I don't want to upgrade them from AP to AS. I won't keep them as an AP. Not possible. So you can see there are 3 cargo ships. I still convert from a normal cargo ship to other type of cargo ship. Let's say this. I mean, these ships can get an upgrade here. You can get the information, so you will change it from an AK to other AK. Not at the end, you only add some anti-aircraft guns. Nothing more. Kaga can get an upgrade, but problem is the Kaga is under, yeah, you can see, no, you cannot see it now. But Kaga is 8 damage and need a year to get the damage fixed. Ammunition ship, I think make no sense to really upgrade this kind of stuff. You get more anti-aircraft stuff, but so these 3 ships is now for me only I maybe must do. Kaga need 1 year and then I can care again. And you can always check maybe 1 month in advance that you get a feeling that you maybe if you're at the end of the month that you already prepare your ships. So next month I have a lot of ships to upgrade. All of the light cruisers, a lot of destroyers, and all of the AP, the Minkansen. And this is an important upgrade, at least on paper. Not the values will change, but what will change is really only this one. You get your Radar 13. This is the best air radar detection. So if you can get this kind of ships in your task force to detect incoming airstrikes, you get more interception time or reaction time. Means your cap will simply have more time to fight the incoming airstrike. This will not help you to kill, I mean, you will not get more aircraft, your pilots will not be better, but you have to get more time. So you have more time to slaughter on the incoming aircrafts. If you are outclassed 3-1, this will not help you. But if you outclass the incoming airstrike and you have only 5 minutes or 15 minutes, then it will help you. You also can get here your torpedo boats for some useful. Because this, up to now, my torpedo boats, I always keep them in port. It's far too risky to lose them against anything, because they are useless at the beginning. But if you upgrade them, then you get escort ships out of this, and then they are immediately some useful, because now they are sub-hunters with okay equipment. But again, this is depending if you play scenario 1 or some other scenario. So, well. Destroyer upgrade. Here you get already the shallow water. At the end, this is also still shallow water equipment, I would say. But here you get the best. I mean, there's no better equipment coming. Still, in 42, Japan and Allies, they both have this debuff. I don't know what it was, 30, 40, 50% debuff on ships for anti-submarine activity. Yeah, I think it was different. I think for the Allies it was 30%, so from the XP level, and for the Japanese I think it's 50% debuff. And then I think every nation get 20% or 30% less debuff in 43. At the end, the Japanese will always have a greater debuff to hunt submarines. But if the Japanese destroyers have also more XP, and XP is always part of the calculation if you can find the submarine and attack it or not. So, well, good. Anything else? I don't know. Victory points? I don't know. I not really check them. But you can see the victory points going in my favor. But I'm now stuck at 6.3 somewhere. So the last turn's always 6. I was very close to 6.4, but I never reached 6.4. And you can see there's sometimes always a red day, so if the Allies getting points. Or the Allies getting more points than the Japanese, and then it's red. But barely. Air losses overall, I think this I discussed already, nothing really to explain here. Ships I had also, you can make this chart again. Victory points, you can still see that Allies are coming back slowly, and my curve is getting smoothen. It's no improvement more, nothing more to capture really. Ship sunk. This was here the battle at Tasmania, or Melbourne, whatever. So I sunk the enemy fleet. So you can see that the number of ships is not really increasing too much. Yes, this is ship sunk, but the victory points. So the value of the ships, because we are carriers, they had high value, that's jumped up. And for me, it is smooth, but also increasing. And air losses. So here's only to mention that at the beginning I was winning the air war, or at least I was at a better stand. Then it's flipped. The Allies lost less than me. Then a point was reached where we're crossing the line. Then it was more or less balanced. And then there was this big carrier battle. And this was the bombardment of Karachi. Yeah. And this was, oops. How I go back. Reinzoomen, herauszoomen. Bei DAX. Ah. I don't know more. I won't go out completely. Looks like it's not possible. Yeah, maybe I must change this. No, it will not go back. But anyway, this was flag losses I had. This big peak was really related to this one flag losses. But I would say this simply shows that my air losses was not really critical high. It was only that we both lost not much, and if we lose something, then it always looks like terrible. Good. Anything else? I don't know. Anything else? I don't know. I guess this is fine. No. Minefields in the map summary. No. It's more or less always the same. How many pilots you have, different average XP. I don't know. This only shows. Maybe you could say that this, I think, are all pilots on the map, I guess. I don't know, but I think these are pilots on the map. So I have double the amount of pilots on the map for the Navy to the Army, but my Army pilots have a higher average experience level because I call so many young students from school directly to the Navy training airings. Yeah, so much I can say for this. You can also say that I have a very high amount of pilots in float planes, yeah, because I create so many float planes airings and I fill them up completely. So that is, float planes can simply teach you a lot. Navy search, Navy bombardment, I think even cap missions. So even air battles you can learn, or you can say you can learn everything with a float plane, but not torpedo attacks. So, and yeah, I think this is enough here for today. Then see you next time. Take care. Bye bye.